All right, Shalom. It's your brother Kushab coming back at you another quick lesson. Lord willing is edifying, exhorting to the elect. Before I get started, I want to give all praises, glory, infinite honors unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Chakwadash, double honors to the apostles, and the elders of Great Millstone, who taught me the truth and rule well, and peace, and blessings and salutations be to the hopefully elect, as well as those that believe in the gospel and may you endure unto the end, Lord willing. All right, and I'm gonna just get into this. Is gonna be a quick exhortation, all right? Because as we get into the different lessons of news, all right, prophesying, these different breakdowns and things, it's important that you don't forget the exhortation, in which was told unto us, all right, and that a man may continue in the faith and continue in the things that thou hast learned, all right. So we're gonna start off. It's in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 3, okay? It says, but he that prophesied, speaking unto men to edification and exhortation and comfort, all right? And that's, see what they said in the NLT, all right? And that's, it's plain, all right? You deem yourself to be a prophet, we have been, Salaki, we have been ordained by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai to be prophets, all right, men of the Lord, okay? Well, not only edification, all right, supposed to be done in these lessons that we do, but exhortation, all right? So this is 1 Corinthians 14:3. It says, but one who prophesies, all right, one who prophesies strengthens others, encourages them, and comforts them, all right? And that's what, that is a part of us prophesying, all right? Encouraging each other, all right, strengthening each other, and which I'll get that account with Yahweh Shai and Peter, all right, because Satan is constantly on the prowl, man, right? Satan is constantly seeking, all right, and desiring to have your soul, all right. He has the 2/3, he has the world, he wants the men of the Lord. All right, and that's why it's just a constant fight, Jake, things happen in your personal walk, catching hell, family, jobs, all right, cars, houses, you name it. Satan is always constantly on the prowl, all right. It made me think about 1 Peter chapter 5, man, all right. It's 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. It says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. All right, and that's exactly, what the spiritual demon Satan is doing. He's walking, as they say, he's a vagabond, all right, just walking the planet Earth, bringing hell upon, especially, 2/3, but how much more the men of the Lord, all right, the hopefully elect, who abstaining from all appearances of evil, all right, who is keeping, trying to the best of their abilities, to please Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, all right, but Satan is always on the prowl, you see. It says, stay alert, watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Verse 9, it says, stand firm against him and be strong in your faith. Remember that your brothers and sisters all over the world are going through the same kind of suffering you are, all right? So it's nothing, as it says in 1 Corinthians 10 and 13, I believe, that no temptation is taking you, which is such as common to man. So the things that you're going through, the same afflictions are accomplishing your brethren, man, all right? Whether it be, like I say, a job, a woman, whatever, that's why it's important to constantly be in communication with the body, man, so that these things don't overtake you. You get on the phone with brothers, sometimes, you get on the phone and be on the phone with a brother 4 or 5 hours, man, brother venting, Jake going through shit, you exhorting the brother, you see, and these are the things that, people on the outside don't really see. They just see us getting together and going to camp or doing videos, and unless you get into the body, brothers will never have the opportunity to get intimate with you, to actually know you, actually, a man actually becomes your brother, you see? But you won't know these things, until you get in the camp, until you, come out, make your body a reasonable sacrifice, But that's neither here nor there. I don't want to get off topic, all right? But we'll go back to the Hebrews that I opened up with. Well, I wanted to open up with this Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 5. It says, "And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children." All right, and it's a question mark when you read it in NLT. It says, "And ye have forgotten the encouraging words our power spoke to you as his children." Question mark. So have you forgotten, all right, the encouraging words, the words of, being of good cheer, Hey, man, at the end of the day, with all the things that we do go through, we still have this truth, all right? We still can call on the names Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, It said the righteous called unto the Lord, and he delivered them, out of all their fears, man. All right, roughly paraphrasing, I believe it's in Psalms.
Strong's G, 3874. Paraklesis.
But you can't forget the exhortation. All right, let me get this word. Exhortation, see what it say. All right.
Strong's G, 3874. Paraklesis.
Right. It says exhortation and admonition. I just dropped down to the third definition. All right. When you admonish somebody, you encourage them. All right. It says encouragement, consolation, and comfort, that which affords comfort or refreshing. All right. When you jump down to the V, all right, which is the fifth definition, it says a persuasive discourse or stirring address. All right. And when something is if a discourse is persuasive, you're actually trying to get that person to do what? Not stop believing in what they learn. All right. Basically, when we apply this to the truth, it says an instructive, conciliatory, powerful, hortatory discourse. All right. And that's just what it is, Basically, us persuading those that are in the faith to keep pushing, to keep going, Hey, man, because if you let these things that you're going through, all right, rule over you or get the best of you, you're going to bug out, You're going to bug out, man, which is why it's important that we don't forget the exhortations, that the scriptures speak about, all right, that the scriptures instilled, all right, all these letters the Apostle Paul wrote, the Psalms of King David, right, the Proverbs of King Solomon, all right, the Wisdom of Solomon. You see, these things are important not to forget, man, But get back to the verse, all right. Verse 5, it says, "And have ye forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children? My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him." All right, and when you get rebuked, it might be through a brother. All right, it might be through something, a drastic event, might happen, and later on down the line, you learn the Lord rebuke you. And sometimes the Lord could just punish us just to, have us build up our faith, man. All right. It said before thou gettest a friend, prove him first. And if we're going to be friends of Yahushua, we have to be proved through what? That furnace. All right. As it says in Proverbs, the furnace proveth the potter's vessel, man. So we have to be tried. All right. But the key is to not faint, all right, when thou art rebuked of him. You can't get all attitudey, getting forget the word slipped my mind right now, But you can't get down on yourself and depressed, when you're going through these things, all right? They tell you that the apostles in Acts, that the apostles rejoiced that they was able to suffer, all right, for the name of Yahushua. All right, I think that's Acts 5. Real quick. council. Yep. It's Acts chapter 5, verse 41. It says, and they departed from the presence of the council, rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. All right. And that's just the point. You know, if you don't know about this account, all right, you go read it on your own time. All right. But I just wanted to get this point that, you know, the apostles, the men, you know, they went through a great persecution. All right. But they was glad that they was able to suffer, all right, for the sake of righteousness. All right. And like the elder brothers, you know, they say down here, you know, I'd rather suffer for righteousness, you know, rather than suffering as a nigga, man, you know, or suffering because of wickedness, you see? So with all these things, you know, Jake may be going through, you know, and it's to whoever needs to hear it, man. All right. With all these things, you know, Jake may be going through, you just can't forget the exhortation, all right, throughout the scriptures, man. All right. And whatever it is, you know, a matter of fact, I'll go back to the Hebrews, and I'm going to end it off in 1 Corinthians 10. All right, I'm going to finish out this Hebrews first, all right? Because if we don't receive chastisement, all right, we don't receive that punishment, then what? We'll know that the Lord not really dealing with us, you know? But it'll say, verse 6, it says, for whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. You see? And that, like I went into a lesson last week, you know, exercise and discipline, man. You see? That's another thing. You know, I was listening to the elder brother Zahar this morning, you know, going into that, you know, GMS High Spirit Wind lawyer, you know. But verse 7 says, if ye endure chastening, the Most High dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the father chasteneth not? You know, and if you grew up with a father, you know, and your father didn't chastise you, you know, you might have been a stepchild, man. All right, or you wasn't really a child of his, you know, because the Most High, he's not chastising 2/3. They just gonna be a part of the sacrifice in America. You know, they're just submersed in wickedness, man. But it's the ones, all right, who are trying to live righteous, the ones that are trying to do righteousness, that he's chastising to see if, you know, are you going to fold, you going to bend, you going to break, you know? And as the saying goes, you know, pressure can only do one thing, all right? It can either break you, or say pressure bursts pipes, all right? And pressure make diamonds, man. So, you know, what's going to be, you know, the end for you? You're going to let that pressure, you know, make you crash out, burst, you know, do something silly, curse the Most High and die? Or you going to sit in that furnace, man, and come out shining like the pure gold, you know? But I ended off in this 1 Corinthians in 10 and 13, you know, because this is something that you should always have and hold dear, knowing that the Lord, he's not going to put an insane amount of hell on us, excuse me, that we can't handle, all right? And everything that we go through is, you know, the Lord saw fit for it to handle, all right, for it to be handled by us, you know, for each man in his own walk, all right? So this 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, it says, there had no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But our power is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will, with the temptation, also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. You see? So you read in the NLT, it says the temptations in your life are no different from what others experience, right? Like I said earlier, you're not going to be going through something that a brother hasn't went through, all right? The hard part is making the decisions, okay? The hard part is actually utilizing the knowledge and the understanding that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is giving you, okay? Which is called wisdom, all right? If a situation or something is plaguing you, all right, well, then cut it off, you know? It might not be easy, but that's called utilizing wisdom, man, all right? That's the hard part, making those decisions, you know. But hey, you got to have trust and you got to have faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. You see? It says he will not allow the temptation to be more than what you can stand. And when you are tempted, he will show you a way out so that you can endure, you see? So we always got an escape route, all right? As long as we keep Yahweh Bashim Yahushua first and foremost, you know? But that's pretty much the point, man. You know, I ain't gonna harp on it. You know, just be not forgetful of the exhortations. You know, go read the scriptures, man. Go read the stories of Job. Go read the Apostle Paul. You know, he was shipwrecked, right? He had a thorn in his flesh, you know, and a bunch of other things, you know, that the men of the Lord went throughout the scriptures, man. You know, and these are all exhortations that we apply today, all right, in order for us to, you know, have these things girded, all right, strengthened in our memories so that we can get through what? Jacob's trouble and everything else, you know, if it be the Lord's will. All right. But that's pretty much the point, man. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. And with that, I'm going to give